Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Paige Arnott Finn. Paige is the founder and the CEO of global branding and digital marketing firm Mavens and Moguls. Don't you love that name? I love that name. She is based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but actually hails from the Deep South, which is something that we both have in common. Her clients include Microsoft, Virgin, the New York Times Company, Colgate, venture-backed startups, as well as nonprofit organizations. She graduated from Stanford and then from Harvard Business School. Paige serves on several boards and is a very popular speaker and columnist who's written for Entrepreneur and Forbes. Welcome, 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 Paige.
Thanks, Julie, for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
Oh, I'm excited to hear your story, and I know you have a lot of wisdom to share. The question that I usually like to start with is, what is the most important aspect about your career and your life or your life journey? What's your red thread? What is it that you have found about yourself as you've meandered from whenever you started your career until now?
So I would probably sum it up with like insatiable curiosity. I was a curious kid. I always wanted to understand things and understand why and how things worked and why they worked the way they did. So I was really one of those kids that probably drove my parents and teachers crazy because I always needed to know everything. And that curiosity has led me through a very interesting career path, starting on Wall Street in the 1980s, then going to corporate America, working at really big Fortune 500 companies,
Mhm.
in-house doing marketing. Then I got curious about the internet when it started. So I left my corporate career behind and worked for a bunch of venture-backed startups. And then I finally, 22 years ago, hung out a shingle and started doing it independently. So I think the thread would just be I'd keep following my curiosity.
That's amazing. So, what was it that actually spurred you into becoming an entrepreneur?
So you're old enough to remember when 9/11 hit, the world really
Yes.
was completely knocked over and the stock market plummeted by hundreds of points. And that was before we used to have this roller coaster stock market that we have now. Now it's every week, it's up 100, hundreds of points, down hundreds
Mhm.
of points. But back then, that was like a real shocker.
Yeah.
And so I was working for my third startup
Mhm.
and they panicked like a lot of businesses, both the big and small companies were
Right.
afraid to spend cash because they didn't know they'd ever be able to raise money again. All the marketing positions basically got zeroed out. All the marketing people I knew, including myself, we all lost our jobs. And I was lucky because I was in my early 30s. I had worked for three successful startups that all had very good exits. So I wasn't like I had to work, but I love working and I wanted to work. But there were just no real jobs to be had at that point. A bunch of people I knew, some of the venture capitalists, private equity people I knew who ran companies, they came out of the woodwork and said, "Hey, we cut our marketing, but we still need help. I've
Yeah.
got a new product coming out. We've got a trade show coming up. I need a new website. Can you help me?" And my first instinct was, I'm really the client. I'm not the agency vendor. I had never worked on the agency side. I was always the VP of marketing, the chief marketing officer. And my husband said, "Paige, all these people are calling and trying to get you to help them. You've been doing this for how long? You know what to do. Roll up your sleeves and get it done. Just send them an invoice. You know how to help them." So I initially panicked and I called all my favorite marketing people that I had
Mhm.
worked with in my career. And like me, they had all been laid off.
Mhm.
but I had people who were available. I had projects that needed work, and I just put them together. And I called the women the marketing mavens and the guys the marketing moguls. And we just started working. We rolled up our sleeves and
Mhm.
divided into teams. And I never really expected it to be a career. I didn't write a business plan. The only thing I did is a college buddy of mine wanted to learn how to program websites. So I said to her, why don't I be your guinea pig? If I'm going to do consulting, I'm going to need a website. Can you help me? So she did all the coding and I wrote all the copy. And that website lasted for about 5 years, if you can believe it.
Oh my gosh.
So I
That's a
joke,
long time.
I said, I am the cobbler's kid, I'll tell you. But,
Absolutely.
we've been busy from the get-go. And in a weird way, I probably have more job security now than I
Mhm.
did working for big companies because people do cut their marketing whenever there's upheaval and uncertainty in the market. The first thing that gets cut is marketing. But now I have a portfolio of clients. So if one client's in trouble, I can spread it around to other clients and find new ones. So we've now been at it for 22 years. I love working for myself. I have great colleagues, my favorite people I've worked with,
Mhm.
and we're busy. And we lasted the Great Recession and COVID and quiet quitting and the Great Resignation, and we're still having fun. So here we are.
Oh, that's amazing. That is just amazing. And the nice thing is, it just fell together for you. And the funny thing to me is, why do companies cut marketing when they need it the most?
It's an
Doesn't make
excellent question.
sense.
No, and I think we've seen a lot during and after the COVID pandemic, because at first, again, for people's
Oh,
first
yeah.
instinct was, oh my God, we can't spend a nickel. But then they realize they need to do market research. They need to update their site. They need new marketing material. And so they took baby steps. And the good news is when your marketing is working and
Mhm.
you're generating more leads and you're finding customers and clients, the marketing isn't an expense. There's a return on that investment because it's helping you find better clients and customers, so it pays for itself. And I think
Oh, absolutely.
we learned a lot during COVID
Mhm.
because a lot of the assumptions all the businesses made prior to the pandemic, we realized all that changed overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Like where you go to work, how you
Mhm.
dress for work, where you live, the hybrid and remote work experience, all of that just completely changed. So before the pandemic, I would tell my clients we should do some market research. And they'd say, oh, I don't need research. I know everything I need to know. But
Right.
after COVID, people realized I don't know anything anymore. So now a lot of people use us to figure out what's going on in their category with their competitors, where they can really stand out on the landscape of their category or industry. And then for the companies that did really well during the pandemic, they've got great stories to tell
Mhm.
and they want to get their stories out. So we can do PR and content marketing and thought leadership and help them find those great words and pictures to tell their story in a really compelling way so they
Mhm.
can find more clients and customers. So you're absolutely right. People that invest in marketing with intention, with a strategy, with a goal in mind,
Mhm.
they can channel their resources. And a lot of businesses, their physical locations closed, but you don't have a choice today. You have to have an online presence. You have
Oh,
to,
yeah.
if you don't exist online, you're invisible and you're never gonna, your business is never gonna thrive. So we help a lot of businesses find the right message and image so that they really stand out online. And that is so critical Because if you're a commodity, you're competing on price. You have to be a brand. People have to know you, have a relationship with you.
Yeah,
And that's how you grow. That's how you get referrals. That's how you thrive today.
absolutely. And the interesting thing is, I call COVID the big Band-Aid ripoff because I'm a change management expert. That's my consulting background. And I have seen where changes are rolled out very slowly. And then I've seen changes where literally the company says, okay, for instance, rolling out a new ERP or system. Okay, Friday, we're cutting the old one off. Monday, you're coming in, the new one's up. You can't get back to the old one. Those have sounds terrible for a change manager to say this, but those have been the most successful because when you don't have the opportunity to go back to the old way, it's when you literally have to adopt the new way.
And I
And
think
I
during
love the
COVID,
fact that COVID did that to us.
and it was really the kick in the pants that a lot of businesses
Oh, yeah.
or organizations needed to really move forward. And like you said, they weren't able to just incrementally take baby steps. Some of these companies advanced years, if not a decade ahead of where they would have been. They look at their business plan
Yep.
when they say we should start doing e-commerce, we should start doing more online marketing. Guess what? When people aren't coming to your store and they're not, you don't have a choice, like you said.
That's
And
right.
companies were able to really catapult themselves into a new ecosystem where they learned, and if they didn't know how, they brought in change managers like you and marketers like
Yep.
me to help them find the tools to help them get to where they needed to go as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And the nice thing too, I think, is the rules changed overnight. Even going to the office, people had to figure out, okay, what is appropriate for my company virtually? Can I come in a t-shirt? Do I have to have Zoom shirts? One of my friends told me the other day, I have 5 or 6 Zoom shirts, and all I do, they stay pressed. I don't ever have to wash them because I put them on. I have my meeting, I take them off. I put them. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. But if I could do that with my hair and makeup, I'd love it. But one of the biggest rules that changed, I think, was organizations had to listen to the younger generations who were saying, I don't want to go back to the office. I don't want to have a 2-hour commute. As a matter of fact, I won't. And so it's starting to settle back and in a little bit of a balance there, but COVID literally changed everything. And
Absolutely.
I'm actually very happy about it. I'm probably the only extra that's happy about it, but I was very happy about it.
I think there are a lot of people out there that feel like the world shifted to a better kind of happier medium, if you will, because most offices are not 100% remote. Most places are hybrid. So
Hmm.
you do get together a little, but people have learned how to leverage all the online tools and technologies. Companies have learned how to make sure they're active on social media
Hmm.
and how to do customer service and all the things you need to be good at, social listening skills, being able to be an online brand that you trust, that you're building relationships, that you listen to your customers. All of that is a major step forward. Like I said, I think a lot of people before didn't really think of them or their businesses as being like a big brand. Like, I'm not General Motors. I'm not
Yeah,
Beyonce or LeBron James or Taylor Swift. I'm not really a brand. I don't need to bother. I totally disagree. I
right.
think it was the real jolt that said everybody's a brand because people have to know you and know how to find you. And if they Google you and you don't exist, nothing comes up, They're not going to return your phone call. They're not going to invite you to be on their podcast. Like,
Right.
you don't exist, you're nobody. So you have to
Yeah,
have
don't even try to network because if they haven't
exactly
heard of you before, they're probably not even going to engage with you.
bingo, exactly. In this digital world, you still need to be branded probably now more than ever
Yep.
because you need to own very specific real estate in your customer or client's brain. So when they have a problem that your product or service can help them solve, they think of you first. And if you do that, and then you have a consistent message out there, and it doesn't matter which platform you are on, you don't need to be everywhere, but where you are, you need to have a consistent message and it needs to be reinforced in everything that you do.
Right.
Because if you're one kind of person, like on X, if you're really snarky, on Facebook, if you're really immature, on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, you're trying to be professional. That's not a good strategy because people are going to look you up and they're going to be like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Which version is going to show up at the meeting? I don't like the
No.
snarky one. I want the professional one. And like you said, what you look like, how you're dressed, what is your logo, what is your signature at the bottom of your email? All those things really contribute to the image and the brand you're trying to project. So it is really important that people realize you've got to you can't stand for 10 or 20 different things. Pick one or two really important benefits that make you special, unique, and different, and make sure that's in everything that you do. And if you do that well, and you show up on wherever you are with those core messages, core values, people realize, oh, Julie's awesome. I know someone that I need to introduce her to because she could really help them. That's how you build a solid brand and a good business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. What's the biggest challenge you think we face as women in senior leadership positions? Not necessarily back in the day, like you and I had the back in the day thing, but now, what do you think are some of those challenges that women are facing?
In a way, it's everything's changed, but nothing's changed. Um,
I get it.
I feel like, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not, but
Okay.
I feel if you ask a guy about anything, they're very confident. They'll give you an answer, whether they really know what they're talking about or not.
Yep.
They think they're ready for the promotion. They think they're ready to go in and make the presentation. Guys are just brought up to be more confident, more aggressive, um, and they're mentored maybe a little more, just more methodically. It's just more natural, I think, for guys to be treated like, you got this, you can do this, you're ready. And I think, unfortunately, it's still true
Hmm.
that in corporate life and nonprofit life, online businesses, I think women need to be like completely certain that they can do everything before they'll raise their hand or before they'll answer the question. They'll be like, I'm not really the world's biggest expert on this, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's somebody else who can answer that question better. The truth is, most of the women actually know 80 or 90% of the answer, and they're really almost ready for that next big job, but they don't have enough confidence, and there's too much kind of that inner critic saying, don't raise your hand or don't put
Yeah.
yourself in front. And I find whether you're talking attorneys, accountants, doctors, business women, like almost all of my doctors are women because I feel like they studied harder, they know more, they're more empathetic. I feel like the women doctors are in many ways like more qualified. And I know I worked in the Treasury Department years ago, earlier in my career, and the women in my group were so much more on the ball. They worked harder, they had better experience, they better work ethic. They were so much stronger than the guys on my team. But the guys were so used to getting at the front of the line. And coming from a more not government background, coming from a more corporate meritocracy background, when I did that job for about 3 years, when I left, so many of the women said, I didn't realize that I didn't speak up for myself. And you gave me so much more confidence. I promoted a lot of the women on my team, and they were just like, if you saw them before and after, it was like, wow, they
Yep.
really started to believe I can do this. I am good at this. I should make the presentation. I am ready for the promotion.
Yep.
And again, I don't know if that's the biggest difference, but for me, I just think my girlfriends that I went to school with, most of them were equally, if not more prepared, and they were smarter. They, even if they got better test grades, they didn't talk about it because they didn't want to brag. They didn't want to get too much attention or piss
Mhm.
off the boys. But I think women are awesome.
Oh man, me too. Me too. And I totally agree with you on that. I really do. I think luckily we did have, I don't know, you and I grew up about the same time in our careers. So I was in banking in the 90s when you had to wear a skirt still, right?
Oh, me too.
Oh my God. But I remember back then looking at Murphy Brown and Barbara Walters and those guys, and we almost, because the only model we had as far as getting ahead was watching guys compete with each other to get ahead, we wound up competing, and not only with guys but with each other. And I think we had to go through that. That was part of the journey. But I think we're at the point now that we find out that we don't have to compete with each other. Actually, the more we support each other and grow with each other, the better off we are. I feel prey and victim, like you said, not to being underconfident. I've always been rather in your face. But I fell prey to that whole she's a you know what, or she's too aggressive. I never got assertive. It was always you're too aggressive.
But
And
for
I
the
said,
guys,
but
it's always perceived as being strong or
strong,
smart.
assertive, they ask all the hard questions. I would ask a hard question and get my wrist slapped. You need to be kinder, you need to be less out there, whatever. I never quite learned that lesson. So I got into a lot of trouble in my career, but by the same token, I always stayed true to myself. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what grows that confidence. When you let someone else put you down, that's where you lose a little bit of yourself every time. So I firmly agree with you that we need to find ways to raise each other up, because wise women have run this world from the very beginning.
I think, hallelujah, I think you're right
Yep.
about that.
Yep. Let me ask you to close your eyes. Okay. What describe the picture that appears when I say wise woman?
Oh, I think of my grandmothers and my great grandmother. And
Mm-hmm.
I think of, there are a lot of women in history, Golda Meir, Indira Gandhi, so many of the women leaders in politics, in business, in Hollywood. I just think we were talking before about Julia Louis-Dreyfus,
Mm-hmm.
who comedian, actress. She was on the most popular show ever in history on Seinfeld. And now she's got a podcast called Wiser Than Me, and she talks to all these amazing older women, Gloria Steinem, Carol Burnett, like real groundbreaking, who were doing it before you and I were born. They've been at it for decades, and I'm so in awe and impressed. I think about my grandmothers and my great grandmother. I only had one of my four grandparents that went to college. It was my mom's mom, and she was a teacher. And her younger
Mhm.
sister got married before she did, which in that day and age, she was considered like a spinster. And she went to
Oh,
college.
wow.
She went to college and her husband didn't. I think if she were alive now, I'm just starting out, she could have gone to medical school. She could have been a doctor.
Oh,
I mean, it's
yes.
really, my other grandmother was a secretary out of high school until she got married and had kids. And so there were no expectations. There was no one telling them you can do anything you want to do, or you're so smart, you're so
Mhm.
confident. And when I went to business school, I started in the late 80s. My class was less than a quarter women. And now
Yeah,
today, if you look at business schools, I think they're mostly 50-50.
pretty
In
much.
med
Yeah.
school and law school, those might even be more than 50-50 women.
Mhm.
So I just think there have been so many steps forwards, even in your lifetime and mine. I think it's really different today, where my parents used to tell me I could do anything I wanted, I could be anything I wanted. But like you said, there was a lot of head banging against the glass ceiling. But I think when I look at
Yeah.
my nieces and goddaughters now, the world's the only limits on them are themselves. I
Yep.
think they could do anything. And who knows, in a few months, we may have a woman president for the first time. Anything's possible.
Absolutely. Yes. If y'all didn't know, I'm a Democrat, so there. Okay.
I'm
Um,
independent.
but in any case, I have two final questions for you, and I ask this of everybody that I interview. The first one is, where do you like to roam?
Oh, goodness. My favorite places in the world are France and Italy. I
Mm,
was an exchange student in France in high school and Italy in college. And
nice.
so I could roam in both of those countries forever and be really happy.
That's
We
wonderful.
I live in New England now. I grew up in the
Mhm.
deep South. My husband and I met on the West Coast. We have a second home on the West Coast, and we have some family property on the West Coast. So the truth is, I would love to roam in California, the Pacific Northwest, down in Louisiana, on the East Coast. I guess I probably am guilty of wanderlust. I think there are a lot of places I think I could go and explore and be really happy.
Absolutely. I've always had wanderlust. I knew I was not going to stay where I was born and raised, almost from the day I was born, pretty much. I'm always looking for something else. And what makes you restless?
Oh my goodness. I think my nature, my DNA is like a problem solver. So I get really restless when I see things that are not working or not being done to the best of their abilities. It just gives me agita. I'm anxious that I got to fix it. I need to help make it better. And yeah, I can't rest in peace when I see things that are not working or not connected in some way that need a little boost or need a little elbow grease or
Mhm.
WD-40 or whatever. That's something that should be working better. It should be smoother. It should be humming. And I don't know why this is getting tripped up. So that always makes me uncomfortable. I have to insert myself and see if I can make it.
I think that must be in some part of every woman's DNA. It really is. It's the problem solver, it's the make it whole, it's the fix it, heal it, uh, um, make it better. And I
Guilty
think
as
that's in all of
charged.
our DNA.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
guilty as charged.
Yeah. So if any of our audience wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that, or how would they look for your company online?
You can Google me, Paige Arnott Finn.
Mhm.
Uh, my company is Mavens and Moguls. The
Yes.
website is www.mavensandmoguls.com. It's ENSANDMOGULS.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn. And with LinkedIn, it didn't hyphenate. So it's just Paige Arnott Finn, one word. Or one of my clients always says, when she can't remember because my last name's hyphenated and my company name has an ampersand, she just puts Paige and Mavens in Google and
There you go.
pop right up. Thank God for search engine optimization.
I'm telling you, that's wonderful. I've had three last names in my career, a victim of a divorce and a remarriage. So happy remarriage. But yeah, I'm often, just because we keep people in our lives our whole lives, I'm often thinking maybe I should put all three of my last names because people know me by it. And then I just decided, oh, heck no, I can't keep up with all that. So, oh, Paige, it's been wonderful talking with you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and your words of wisdom and your observations, particularly around everybody is a brand. Just absolutely were wonderful, especially for the younger generations of women out there coming up. Thank
Thanks for having
you.
me. I've loved chatting with you today.
We'll talk to you soon. Good luck with everything.
You too. Thanks so much.